Welcome to session 70 of the Sphere Power Campaign. We are quite a far ways along. I feel the end is in sight, but we still have quite a bit to do, without a doubt. Considering recent events and with a sense of urgency building, the party decides to forego a return to the comforts of the oasis of the White Palm and seek out Medinat Muskaloon, the cursed city of stone. Using maps and clues they have found so far, the party opts to follow the path of the newly restored River Athos as a means of directing them northwards to lands unknown, where Erodoth indicated they would next be needed. Unlike areas south of the oasis, this part of the river diverges from the Sand Voyagers Trail, leading them into lands uninhabited for centuries and perhaps untraversed for decades. Correlating their maps to the terrain proved difficult given the mostly featureless expanse of the desert. But after almost a week of travel, the group eventually comes across a familiar-looking pillar of stone rising 30 feet above the sand and aligned with the points of a compass. The pillar, not unlike others that have provided clues to Martek's mystery, included another of the ancient transcriptions that Haig and Kaelia have become skilled at deciphering. This one seeming to confirm they are indeed getting closer to the last star gem, but offering more riddles about their path forward. A fist-sized recess on each face appears to invite the placement of one or more of the acquired star gems, but this has not been met without reservation by some in the party. Should the party press onward, or does the obelisk hold additional secrets to be uncovered? And with that, I will also, let me get the time and date stamp up so those of you who are tracking know when it is. And I will reconvey the description of the stone. A pillar of ancient stone stands silently over the desert sands. A lone finger, it stands sentinel among the sand and rocks of the desert. The 30-foot tall pillar has four faces that slope gently toward one another. They are oriented to the four compass points. On each face, ancient markings, worn nearly smooth by the blasts of wind and weather, are carved at the base, above and around a fist-sized hollow. And you guys were given that transcription last time, which was 4 weeks ago. And you translated it as follows. The star is there, shrouded in curses, hidden from sunlight by the sun. And that is where we stand at the moment. And the last thing that you guys were discussing was what to do next. Do anything with the star gems or proceed in some yet specified direction.
So we are no longer at the Phoenix bathhouse, right?
No. Yeah, you've traveled.
Okay, very good. All right, because I pulled up the tactical map and that's what that showed. So okay.
Yep. And the bathhouse would have been all the way down here by the oasis. Travel. Let's see, what was it?
Don't we need to find all the gems before we do anything with the gems?
That is your understanding, yes. Let's see. As the crow flies.
So then we need to keep on keeping on towards the last one, I guess.
You are good 85 to 100 miles north of the lost city of Phoenix and the bathhouse that you were referring to. That's as the crow flies. If you were to actually measure the distance walked, follow the river out of here. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 35, 40, 50, 55, 60, 65, 75, 80.
So do we know where we need to go for the last star gem? Or have this pillar, does this pillar give us any help in finding it or any reason to go any other direction than towards wherever the last star gem is? I believe we asked that one Djinn or whatever, Genie, the question, and he told us where it was, right?
Yes, he did. He mentioned a temple, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah,
My vote is to head that direction, wherever that is.
yeah, that's
So
the point. And the only thing that the obelisk gives you is, quote, the star is there, end quote. Where is there? You don't know. Now,
Yeah.
at least one of you are going to make the connection that this thing is talking about sunlight and sun, and your minor genie friend mentioned Ra, the god of the sun. So there's definitely something consistent there, but you haven't connected the dots. And again, yes, you're still trying to figure out direction. The river, as you can tell from the map, continues north by northwest for the most part. But which direction to go at this point, you're not sure. Because as we keep reiterating, the Desert of Desolation, for the most part, is very featureless and very, very difficult to traverse. Your only saving guidance throughout most of this campaign has been the Sand Voyagers Trail with the bright beacons that mark it every couple of miles or so, and that you can see from at least 10 miles away. Now, you are back on the Sand Voyagers Trail. You can see the dash line on the map. The river has remerged with it at this point. But so there is that. The river and the Sand Voyagers track do continue off in the same direction.
I will also wager that the wizard is not the one who will be making that connection to the sun god Rock, because he is not the one who's been paying close attention to all the transcription.
We could rule it out, but more than likely you are correct. It's probably going to be the paladin that would make that connection, or possibly Fekish, one of the two of them, if not both of them.
All I'm going to say is thank God the weasels are not the brain of the operation.
No, you're definitely the brawn.
No, he's the red herring.
So Dan, it probably would be Haig or Barrick or Alex. I don't know. Looks like are any of them actually in the Zoom that can chime in on this, or
Alex
do,
is here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm still here, but I'm arguing with my computer.
Oh, you can also argue with the company at the same time. You know,
I have not been multitasking well lately.
I was going to say, use that energy synergistically.
Yeah, I am arguing with my computer because apparently.
Well, it seems like most of us are having issues this morning. Ms. was having problems arguing with Zoom this morning. So
apparently, I no longer have a Wi-Fi card on my computer. I mean, I'm trying to look at the the quick settings panel, and apparently there's no more Wi-Fi symbol. So I wanted to turn on the Wi-Fi. Yeah, I don't get it. I'm starting to get angry at my computer. Well, at the technology gremlins infesting the system.
Hey,
I can't get my.
I went to Ethiopia to pick up my son in 2010, and I left my computer at home because I had my iPhone 3G, and I figure I can just do everything that I would need a computer for on that, because my cell service wouldn't sync up. I can just use the Wi-Fi to connect to Wi-Fi access points, and I'll be fine. I got down there the second day I was there, the Wi-Fi chip literally burned up. It, like, the hardware went bad. And so, so I was stuck. I was stuck for the last of the 5 days I was there with no connection to anybody at all because it was completely dead. So, yeah, Wi-Fi is problematic at the worst time.
Yes.
Well, I went in the Windows settings and went to network and internet, and it won't let me turn on the Wi-Fi. Let's see, what can I do?
I see someone's taking over your computer. Alex.
Yeah.
I think we all should just get used to the fact that they're taking over our systems, our data, or everything else. Otherwise, you're just in for a world of frustration.
Hey, you could always sign up for Zuckerberg's new Twitter clone, where you have to you have to give them 100% access to all of the data on your device, including your health data, in order to log into the account. They get all your financial information. You look at the things it wants you to sign up for, and you can only delete it if you delete your Instagram account too. So good times.
No shit.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like you talk about draconian. Holy cow! They literally are asking for everything. That's why you can't get the Twitter clone in the EU, because their privacy rules won't allow it to happen. So for good reason.
Kudos to the EU for actually being proactive against these data.
And Zuckerberg was saying 30 million new signups in one day. Well, you're using your Instagram account, so everybody's already signed up, basically. All you have to do is go in and click the I accept that you get all my data, and then you're in. You don't even have to really register for it. So
Or really read about what you're signing away.
right, exactly.
People don't read about what they're signing away.
Fucking hell.
Exactly. Let's just say I'll be okay foregoing that one. That's fine.
Yeah, I'll pass. I wasn't planning on it in the first place, but now that you just said what you just said, definitely fuck off.
Yeah.
Not happening.
Yeah.
Oh man.
As they attempt to redefine what social media is, data enslavement. Yeah, that's it. All right, enough of the political data commentary. All right, so Alex,
If
your team is pretty much looking to Kaeli for advice as to which direction to go and how you're going to find the last star gem.
Or we can do a Monty Python and just pick a direction and start walking.
That sounds good to me.
Okay. Sorry.
Straight up.
That way.
Okay,
Oh, that's Canadian.
Sorry. Somebody is really, really loud, and everybody else is at just the right volume, and I'm not sure why.
Misram.
No, it's not Miss. I just restarted my computer to see if that would help. And I was looking for my notes because I think I actually took notes last session.
I think you're probably the only one that takes notes, period.
Well, not counting the DM, probably.
That's questionable too.
I got quite an extent. I'm looking at the note log. It's quite a bit here. Not to mention the game auto logs quite a bit, which has come in handy very often.
Yeah. I make a log entry for every session, but there's not always anything in it. I always mean to go back and look at the recording, but and take better notes.
Recently, thank you for reminding me.
I've been.
You're the one who's too loud. You're the one who's too loud.
Okay, very good. I've been with my sessions. I've found that nobody ever remembers for when they're 2 weeks apart. Nobody ever remembers what's going on when we come back. So I've been recording the sessions, and then I take the audio and I run it through. I think it's Premiere Pro, because I have the Adobe thing through the university, and Premiere Pro will generate a transcript. And then I use that to just cut and paste in and create a summary that I send out before the next session. So then everybody, doesn't have to remember, because nobody could ever remember where we were. So
that's pretty slick.
A nice feature to have.
It is. Oh my gosh, it makes all the difference. Because I used to listen through and type, and it's like, oh no, that's going to take me like 8 hours to do. But then with the AI, it's like AI or whatever Premiere Pro is doing, the transcript's not always right, because any place names or whatever are usually misspelled. But still, it's close enough. Yeah, close enough. So works pretty good. And I know there's AI ones online. I just don't like sending my data to anybody else. So
yeah.
Yeah, I try to do that message of the day update each week and decided a few sessions ago to just keep a historical record so you can see the progression from session to session. Hopefully it's been helping. I know it makes it easier to do an intro opening up the video each time, but anyway, yeah, 4 weeks. When you have to go 4 weeks between sessions, then things get really, really rusty.
Yeah, I feel like we discovered that we were supposed to go to the same place to find the last Star Gem and for the final confrontation. But I wanted to check and see if I had notes on it. And my computer is now connected to my internet, but I'm having difficulty convincing it that I actually told it to open Fantasy Grounds.
Well, you also had a big question about the fist size recessions or recesses in the obelisk that seem to be about the same size as the star gems. And there are 4 recesses. You have 4 star gems. So you were debating whether or not you wanted to try to see if the gems fit in it. And you in particular, Kayla Lee, were very hesitant. Maybe not very, but you were definitely not as gung-ho on the idea as I think it was hey,
Right.
yeah, and well, in general, the Goliaths are both usually pretty gung-ho.
And the torpedoes, full speed ahead.
Yeah.
Damn, you guys don't take on small projects, do you?
No, not usually.
No.
No, I'm
we
looking at
don't.
Dan's
No,
picture
that's
inside the
not-
general channel about with the trench he's digging in the tractor, and think about the kind of things that Jim gets himself involved with, and Matt and Dan, and I'm just like, when you guys do things, you go full bore, literally.
Is there any other way to do things?
Yeah, sometimes half-assed is necessary.
No.
Yeah.
Half-ass is the stuff that I get to fix from people doing things half-assed.
It depends on your role, but sometimes it's necessary for you to leave it half-assed for someone else to fix.
Since we bought this house, every project that I get into breeds 2 or 3 more projects because of somebody else doing something half-assed before me.
Yeah, you're right. Homeowners definitely means you want to do it right the first time, no doubt.
Yeah.
But if you're a renter, half-assed is usually the appropriate thing. Let the person who owns it pay the full cost of it.
Yeah. In that context, I agree.
It's actually a very good.
my other thing I have to add for that is toothpaste can cover nail holes in the wall really well.
This is true. This is true. No, and in the context of ownership versus renting, yeah, definitely a different ball of wax.
All right, Alex, it shows that you're finally connecting, but it
Yes, I am acquiring file list.
Yeah, it also says you're running a different version. You're doing an update. Oh, wait a minute.
No, I'm not due that big of an update.
You have the more recent version. Interesting. I thought I updated this morning.
I update every time I log in.
Yeah,
I updated.
Yeah, me too.
I haven't updated since the week of the breaking update.
All right, so this is interesting then, as I'm looking at it. There's not much in the text at the moment. Let me see if it. Unfortunately, the load up text doesn't confirm. It shows that the rule set was last updated June 27th. The RPG rule set was last updated June 27th. Shows that my shared screen connected, that Fekish connected, that Jim connected, that Ms. connected. Then when you connect, it says host v4.4.3 is running different version than client v4.4.0. Why didn't it report that for any of the others? So if we are all updated,
because I haven't there's been you're on 4.4.3.
right.
4. I'm on. I updated.
Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah. I'm up the 4s and the 3s. Oh, you are in the older version. Never mind.
Yeah,
I was thinking
I'm on
4 and I'm at 4.3. but I'm at 443. Never mind.
Yeah, I'm on the June 13th update.
Gotcha. All right, so that's why we're not having major issues. And yes, the rest of us are up to date. Never mind. I thought you were up to date and the rest of us weren't for a second. I'm like, how'd that happen?
No, it's the other way around.
That, I just
I'm
I
up.
can't count anymore.
I'm up to date enough that I can connect, but not up to date enough to not throw a flag.
Oh yeah, I bet you're probably getting a bunch of errors.
Not yet.
I don't see any
You did update Critically Awesome Essentials, correct?
Oh, good gosh, no. I really got to remember.
Oh,
part of my
fuck. If you don't have that one updated, you're not going to be able, you're going to have issues adding things to the combat tracker.
Oh, lovely. Lovely. So does that mean we should shut down and do the update?
Yep. Because that was like the first day after the breaking update. There were dozens of messages on Rob's server for Bob's channel about can't add things to the combat tracker. And the message goes away if Critically Awesome Essentials goes away. And so he updated it. Which honestly, I'm really surprised he managed to, given what apparently happened in his family.
All I'm going to say is it's not the Weasel fault.
No, it's not the Weasel's fault. But it would be nice for me to finish loading in before you shut down Fantasy Grounds.
Oh, I still got to download the update, so I'm looking for it now. All right.
Okay.
For those who are watching the recording, we're going to pause until we get these technical updates done. We'll be back. Okay, we are back from our technical break. Everyone is reconnected and we have reviewed notes. So we are now going over questions about the obelisk. Go ahead, Kayla.
If I remember correctly, we were told, or we inferred from our various sources we had at the time, that we only actually needed 3 out of the 5 gems in order to have a decent chance at defeating what's his face.
Okay. Do you want me to confirm or deny that?
I want the rest of the group to let me know if they remember something similar.
I do not.
I do not.
You weren't here at the time, Albie. So.
Exactly.
And I do not remember either because I was sleeping in weasel form at the time.
No, it was cat form.
Okay.
Cat form.
Yeah, you did favor the cat form earlier. Okay, because that is my recollection of that we needed a minimum of 3, but 5 would be best.
I do have a question in regards to the obelisk and the gems, though, once Kayla finishes her thought.
So, Keith, can you confirm or deny that my recollection is accurate about the information that we had at the time led us to believe we only needed 3 minimum?
I can confirm that you had that discussion previously, yes.
Okay.
If I remember correctly,
I cannot confirm whether or not that statement is true, but I can confirm that this point has been raised before.
Okay. Which then leads me to believe that we don't necessarily need to insert all 4 gems at the same time into this obelisk in order to have something useful happen.
If we only need 3 gems and we got 4, let's go find the big bad and get this on.
Yeah, if you're gonna say that to Kayla Lee as she's thinking aloud about how many gems to, or as she's thinking aloud by muttering to herself in mostly Elvish about this, she's going to reply, the 5th gem is in there. Find it first.
Yeah, because if I remember correctly, I something about the more gem we got, the easier thing was going to be. If I remember correctly.
Yeah, our best chance is going to have all 5. Is going to be if we have all 5. But we were led to believe, or the information we had led us to believe, we needed 3, or it was going to be absolutely impossible. But our best chance is with 5.
Yeah.
And so now she's like studying the pillar and walking around it and muttering to herself about which gem to try first, where to put it, how far away everybody might want to be, and whether we want to be facing inward or outward. Because she's no idea what's going to happen here.
So
All right.
all of the
Haley
gems have
is
different.
done asking. Haley is done asking questions of the GM, so now it's somebody else's turn.
So all of the gems have different cuts on them, correct?
Yes.
So investigating the slots in the obelisk, is there a difference in the cut in the depression or the holes in the obelisk?
No, like I said before, none of you perceive any distinction between any of the faces or the recesses.
Okay. So it doesn't indicate a matching of one gem into a specific hole based on the cut of the gem.
But yeah, there does not seem to be anything that you could correlate each face with uniquely.
Cool. All right. Well, then let's just start putting gems in and changing combinations if nothing works. Starting with north and moving our way around the obelisk.
That works for me.
We
But
don't
I
give
don't
you a
have any
thumbs up.
I don't have any gems, so it's not up to me.
Haley has all 4 of them. If I'm not
Yep.
mistaken.
Yeah. So you're gonna have to get her attention. If you guys are ready to just start trying things, you're gonna have to get her attention.
Yeah, give me one of those.
What?
Are we like more like a tap on the shoulder, hand you a coffee, or shake you vigorously until you respond?
Take your pick.
Yes.
See what kind
All
of
of the
reaction you get.
Smack her
It really
upside the
depends on
head
what
with
kind
a
of
ferret.
I thought the ferret was still riding on my shoulder.
Not anymore.
No. If you remember last session, I was actually in your pocket snoozing.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah. So, depending on what kind of reaction you're interested in when you finally get her attention, you're gonna have to, pick something. You can tap her on the shoulder. You can call her name real loud so she, you call her name louder and louder until she answers. You could, smack her with something. You could. She's got a puzzle. She's focused on her puzzle now.
Yep, she's focused. So, what will the rest of you do to move things along?
Ask
on,
nicely if we can
Miz,
have
Jim.
her
I
attention
can cast-
to get the gems.
I cast Fireball.
Yeah, well, that'll get everybody's attention.
Not an
Where
unexpected
are you
response
casting?
from the wizard.
Where are you casting Fireball at?
At
Oh,
the
I don't know.
ferret
Are
I'll
you
in your
stand
really-
next.
pocket.
I can stand next to you and cast it on myself.
The flaming
No, I'm
wizard.
just kidding. But Firebolt would be an option if you aren't responding. But I'll leave
What
it
are
to
you
the
guys
people.
trying first?
I don't know. My vote's for a ferret upside their head, but
Let's see what happens if we crack one of these things open. No. All right. So if I heard right, it was Feckish that was thinking about grabbing one of the gems and sticking them into the recesses. However, he does not have any on him. They're all in Alex's possession. And Alex is currently buried in thought, thinking through her risk profile. of having less than 5 gems. Does that all sound about
Mhm.
accurate?
Sounds about accurate.
Except for you use the player name instead of the character name. Yes, that sounds about accurate.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I try to be consistent, but sometimes I screw up.
Yes.
All right, so and Ms., you are still in weasel form, right?
Mm-hmm. I certainly am.
So the DM is going to take it upon himself to move matters forward by encouraging the weasel to grab one of the gems from inside Kaylee's pockets while she's engaged.
He'd have to climb out of the pocket where he's sitting and go looking for the other pouch
I'm
because
not saying he
see.
knows where it is, but he
Yeah.
is a weasel, and you may or may not notice this effort depending on his choice in how to proceed. He may want to
Yep.
tickle you. He may want to proceed in stealth. Ms., you want to make that decision, or shall I roll for you?
I will let you roll for me.
Awesome.
We love our dice, don't we?
All right. So, Kaylee, you are jolted out of your trans-like state as you suddenly realize that a weasel is sniffing around your bosom.
I'm going to pick him up and just kind of like hold him out and look at him like, what do you think you're doing? I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to, grab him by the scruff of the neck and just kind of look at him. And just hold him out at arm's length and just kind of look at him like, uh-huh.
What the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
I just lift my little weasel paws up, slap it to the side of my face, and then drop my jaw for like to faint shock.
I'm just going to shake my head at him. And and then I'm going to turn to the rest of the group and just hold out the ferret. Like, who wants to take this now?
Okay, one of you should be like, no, but we'll take one of the gems. Which means that they
Redrith will take the ferret and then say, let's try the gems on the obelisk.
So Lily's gonna hand you the ferret, and then she's gonna start unburying her or the star gems, and she's going to suggest that we try all 4 at the same time, and anybody who is not putting a gem into the obelisk has to be keeping watch both close by and seeing what the obelisk is doing and helping us react, as well as making sure that, stuff a little bit further away doesn't start, happening that we need to respond to.
Double.
Sounds good. I'll queue up a fireball if any nefarious individuals appear.
And then she's gonna hang on to one of the gems, and then she's gonna let 3 other people take a gem, and then because she wants to try all 4 gems at the same time.
God damn it.
Janet.
That was directed at me.
And since Haig and Varric aren't here to defend themselves or say otherwise, they gladly take 2 gems to stick them in the pillar.
Awesome.
Okay, there they are. Which one do I got? All right, so you've got Agaplar, Complar, Moplar.
Mopar. Oh, sorry. It's a motor oil, isn't it?
And Shah Pawar. That's the other one.
Finally got the updater to connect. Hopefully it manages to finish its business before it loses connection.
Just a moment. Just updating some content here. Give me a moment.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh. Not like that. Okay, there's that.
Oliver Wendell Jones.
I haven't heard that name in a while. All right, that image is not working. I'm not quite sure why. That's right. That's right. That's right. It's just missing. Apologies. Figure out what happened to this link. I'll look for it quick. There. Okay. Let's see. Whoa. Good Lord. God, this interface can be so tedious sometimes. All right. I finally added the 4th star gem to your inventory list, Alex, but you'll have to
Okay.
you'll have to move it into the container you want it in.
Okay, I can do that as soon as the updater finishes running, and it is very slowly downloading the Fantasy Grounds client for update. So we're working on that.
All right. So, as a reminder, then, now that we've got them in there, you have 4 of the 5 gems. You have the Star of Agapalar, which is a midnight black sapphire that was given to the Lord of.
You're a little quiet, Keith.
Sorry. Star of Agapalar, midnight black sapphire given to the Lord of Bazaar. There is the Star of Kanpalar, an enormous clear crystal that you found in the temple underneath the oasis. There is the Star of Mopalar, that is a brilliant opal that you found in Amun-Ra's tomb when you restored the desert. And last but not least is the Star of Shah-Palar, the one that I just added in, which is a huge ruby that you found in the crypt of Badr al-Mozak, where you released, which was also keeping Calatarius sealed. So that's the 4 gems that you have. Each one of them the size of your fist.
Okay.
So who's getting which one and putting them in which slot?
All right. Kaoli is going to keep the sapphire.
Okay. That's
And she's going to put it in the faces of the pillar align with the 4 cardinal directions.
correct.
Okay, and she's going to put it in the I don't know, north face.
Okay.
She's going to let other people take the other 3 and pick their own sides.
Okay.
And
Varric and Hagel take the next 2 just randomly, and
Well,
stick
before I
them
do them
in.
randomly, why don't you or Albie or Mizram choose the fourth one?
Take the black opal.
There, and which one does the weasel take? Redreth is busy looking for trouble coming from outside.
Okay, and which face are you going to put the opal in, Albie?
North.
No, she already chose north.
South.
Okay. And then Ms. and Redreth, you don't have to do anything because we're going to let the Goliaths take the other two.
Redreth's looking for trouble. Varric or Haig will take one. Whichever one of the ones is left, and stick it in the west one.
Okay, so Haig takes Khan Pilar, and you take Shah Pilar.
And you're quiet again.
Sorry. So Haig takes Khan Pilar, and you, Redreth, take Shah Pilar to put it in the west one.
Redreth doesn't take one because he's looking for trouble out and about.
Oh, okay.
So if Mizram doesn't take one, then Varric will take whatever the remaining one is and stick it in the eastern slot or whichever slot is left.
Well, he's still in ferret form, so those gems would be a little bit heavy for him. You're still in ferret form, right? Ferret, weasel, rodent, Miz.
He can carry a gem.
Oh, a fist-sized gem.
I'm still in weasel form. I thought someone still had me by the scruff of my neck.
No, I handed you off to someone. I forgot who took you.
Redreth.
After you got caught in her bosom. All
Yep, that's fine.
I'm just going to have the
So
Goliaths do it.
Varric will take.
Yeah, I'm just going to have the Goliaths do it. So Haig is putting Khan into the east side, Varric's putting Shah Pilar into the west side, and then Kaeli and Fekis respectively have Aga Pilar north and Mo Pilar south. All right.
Yep, and we're setting them in all together at the same time.
Okay, so how are you coordinating that? Just a countdown?
3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, pretty much. Just a countdown.
Okay, so countdown begins as everyone gets themselves set up. Fekish does the countdown. As you hit 0, everyone raises the crystal to their indentures, and as they do so, as the gems touch the obelisk, you hear a very deep, resounding crack from the platform underneath you. And within a few seconds of that crack, the obelisk itself sunders at the base in a very clean cut and falls with its tip pointing almost, but not directly west, slightly north of west.
Okay.
So west, northwest, west.
West.
Okay. Kaeli will Kaeli with an expression of subdued surprise, because she's startled by what happens, but you know, the final result is not particularly surprising to her. But she's like kicking herself because she's like kicking herself because she should have expected it or something. A totally unrealistic thought, but you know, that's the kind of thoughts that people have. And then she's going to
if it were easy, everyone else would have done it by now, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And then she's going to gather the gems up and hide them back where they belong. Probably in different, if anybody's paying attention, they will notice that all 4 of the gems go back into different hiding spots than any of them came out of.
Probably a prudent call. Now you are left with a grounded obelisk on the floor.
And Kaeli is going to check the time.
think I've spent quite a bit of time actually debating and figuring this out. So we're gonna say it's I would say you spent at least a half an hour doing that. So that means it is now this time of the day.
Okay. And that means approximately how much longer before we typically stop and set up camp?
Yeah, you got probably about another 3 hours, 3 to 4 hours. About enough to cover one
Okay.
more. About enough to cover one more hex on the overland map.
Okay. So Kaoli is going to look around and then she's just gonna set off in a, she's gonna, she's gonna round up her camel and set off in the direction that the obelisk is now pointing. She's just gonna set off. And, make assumptions about what the rest of the party's gonna do.
Everyone following in suit, I presume?
Redrith will
Yep.
go the opposite direction. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, we'll go to Tim.
Okay, party split time.
Your favorite.
Oh, of course. I'm just all ready to go for it too. Trust me, it's probably impossible to run this module without having to do at least one party split, if not
Oh, yeah.
more. All right, so with that in mind, let's see. Ding, da, da, ding, da, da, ding, da, da, ding. Oh, really? That's what you get. All right. All right, so you get back on your camels, you start heading mostly west, probably like a heading of about 285, 270 being directly west. And everyone's back on their camels. Camels have since calmed down since their scare with the Ifrit several hundred miles back. And you start moving westward. Night sky, moon is up, probably quarter moon. Not a lot of light. Desert's not brightly lit, but there is some light that you can see by. And as a matter of fact, while you are heading in that direction, and I'm going to presume that we are continuing to follow the order that's in the party sheet. The two boys actually notice spiders in the distance. Ones that they've seen before, but they're kind of scurrying around on the sand. And apparently the spiders also notice you guys coming across. You suspect more likely because of the vibrations from the camel hooves than anything else, because they didn't look directly at you and go, oh shit. But they generally seem to be keeping a wide berth and responding to the direction. Like they're not going opposite direction, but they're trying to keep their distance.
They know they're on the menu.
Yep. However,
Okay.
you do pick up from the from your distance and given the moonlight that these are phase spiders that you've run into before. And though the boys probably think their meat is tasty, they're a big pain in the ass to capture.
Yes.
So what do you want to do? Ignore them? Keep an eye on them? Proceed further? Or
If they
take it
have
out?
no interest in us, then unless the boys are hungry, it's a dumb question, but
No, they do seem to be keeping their distance. They are not treating you as prey.
Okay.
Now, if
That's
this were a
good.
more intelligent animal, one or more of you might suspect the possibility that they could be scheming or orchestrating a pack attack, i.e., if this were wolves, this would be very concerning behavior.
Yes.
But you're all used to spiders being pretty stupid. They either are hungry and will attack, or they realize that they're overmatched and will stay away. In this case, they appear to be somewhat intelligently choosing the latter option.
Yeah. So Kaoli is of a mind to stay aware of them and their movements in relation to us, and just keep going until and unless something changes.
Agreed.
So over the next several hours before the sun rises, you manage to make it about another hexen distance. But as the sun comes up, something very interesting happens. First of all, the sun is behind you, so the glare is not causing you any problems. But you do get a much better view of the area because you have a slight altitude advantage where you are. And you can see a few things in particular. So first of all, you can make out what appears to be, or you would guess to be, another estuary or tributary of the river Athos off in that direction. Either that, or it makes a very, very sharp turn. Actually, no, the turn wouldn't even make sense, because with the reflecting sun, you can kind of see the direction that it's flowing, and it's flowing in the same direction as the branch that you just headed towards. So presumably this is another branch of the river. And as you look
Okay.
to the west towards the direction you are traveling, and also where that river ends up, it ends up in a rather interesting feature. In the distance, to the limits of sight, the air shimmers strangely. The sand dunes flatten and look almost blue, dark blue in this case. Stranger still, the horizon has vanished and the sky has become one with the desert. The entire sky is gray and dim, one above the hot desert, the other below the dunes. There is, as far as you can tell, something very highly reflective over in the distance in the direction that you are walking, facing.
Cool.
And you would judge. Actually, I need to kind of fix something here a little bit, way that you would be seeing this. Because of those hills, you wouldn't really see there, but you would be able to see more over this way. And you can kind of see in that direction, or on the map, something that would, that lighter blue area just west of the river does seem to be where you're seeing a lot of that reflection come from. That appears to be about another day's journey away.
And it also appears to be almost exactly in the direction that we're heading.
Correct. Not
That is
almost,
probably
not almost, but probably exactly.
that is probably our destination. And if it is not our destination, it is an obstacle to get to our destination. But I'm betting on our destination.
All right. So
Lovely.
are we going to press through the day, or are we going to hang out and set camp? And now being maybe a little bit before dawn, but the sky is definitely lighter.
I'm down for either. Does anybody need resting spells?
Kaoli's thought is that we set up camp before it gets too hot, but that doesn't mean we stop immediately. Just so that we're not walking through the heat of the day and exhausting ourselves and killing our Goliaths.
Yeah, they don't like that heat, not at all.
Yep, I just need 10 minutes to set up the dome.
Okay, so that's usually not a problem.
And we can do that here and now, or we can push on a bit longer because it's not quite too hot yet.
That's
Whatever our
that-
usual
that's totally
pattern
up
is.
to you, but you are pretty convinced there's no way you're getting to where you're looking at before daybreak.
Oh yeah, that's not the point. The point is simply, is there a reason that we need to stop now, or shall we continue on for a bit longer? It doesn't really matter to KLLE or to me whether we push on for another, half hour to 3 hours and wait for the heat, or we stop now. It's also just a matter of how many times do we have to put up the hut also. Because we don't necessarily need the hut instantly, but we will need it
we have a habit of setting up the hut before it gets fully bright. So I think I would just settle into the sand at this point and start setting up the hut.
Yeah, there is an advantage to capturing the cooler air in the hut.
Right. Well, the hut, the part of the spell is that it's climate controlled.
Oh, that's right. No, still, it's like air conditioning. It's a lot less energy to maintain a temperature than to cool it down.
Exactly. So yeah, if Redress decides that, well, might as well stop now, then that's fine. I might have to go somewhere to get this stupid update to work. I think the conclusion has been that we're setting up camp now because Redruth has decided it is time.
That's what I figured out.
This is the way.
So many errors in this thing at this stage, I swear it's annoying. Okay. All right, so you set up camp. Sun comes up. A little bit of desert wildlife. You see a donkey or two maybe roaming through the area, but not much really. You're actually kind of even surprised that the donkeys are roaming around out here. I presume you're keeping a rotational watch?
Yes.
Yeah,
And
we usually do.
we're going to stick with the order that we've established. Going
Yes.
clockwise
I think
on the
so.
party sheet. Which means that Redreth is actually on watch towards the end of the session. And what were you going to say, Jim?
Nope, I was just agreeing.
Okay.
Oh
And
gosh, now you're loud, Redruth.
as you're looking out through the dome towards the towards sunset, and the sun is beginning to come down on the western horizon, And you're looking at this reflection where sky seems to meet land, and indeed that impression is reinforced because at some point, maybe about an hour before sunset, you see a second sun appear in the ground below the horizon. And as the regular sun sets, this one comes up to meet it in the ground. So it's like one is setting and one is rising from below the ground, and where they meet, they disappear. Or as they describe it here, at dusk you see two suns in the purple and orange sky, one above the hot desert and the other below the dunes. As night falls, the two suns move closer and closer to each other. They become one and grow smaller and smaller, disappearing into the night.
So there is a mirage somewhere.
This seems to be a little more intense than a mirage, number one. Number two, I don't think any of you ever recall seeing a mirage this late in the day. It's usually in the baking heat of the day that you have to see the sun causing those heat illusions. And the other part of it is that it doesn't shimmer the way a mirage does.
So it's a clear vision rather than a distorted one. Cool. That way. Oh, wait a minute. We're putting up the hut, huh?
I definitely don't know quite what to do with that.
Draw a big arrow in the sand outside of the hut and set that way.
You might do that. I can't leave the hut or it goes away.
Right.
Well, the sun is at this point, the suns have set. So it is nighttime. The desert is cooling off quickly. Are you ready to pack up and continue heading west?
Yeah, I mean, if we're ready to go, let's go.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. I don't want to have to call it quits early, but I might have to just because I'd also rather not fall asleep in the middle of the session.
Yeah, we are moving a bit slow, but things I think might change up shortly. So over the next 6 or so
Yeah.
hours.
Brian's just like, is it bedtime yet? And I'm like, no, it's not.
No, we woke you up. We're not keeping
Yeah.
woke you up.
Yeah.
All right, so
I like it. This is fun.
you continue heading westward,
Mhm.
and it's still before midnight when you reach the river. And as you suspected from earlier, this one is also flowing towards, not from, the direction you were heading. So you still have reason to believe that it is a branch of the river. And meanwhile,
Okay.
actually, with this distance and from this perspective, you can kind of see that it indeed does meet up just kind of northeast of where you are. And then there's a large extension that continues to your northwest. However, what you also notice from here, and which is a lot easier to perceive in this lighting at night, because now you're looking down and seeing stars in the sky. And from what you can tell now, and the way that you're looking at things and the way they're matching up, is that there's some kind of giant, huge, multi-mile sized mirror up ahead of you in the ground.
Oh man. Wow.
presume we're continuing forward.
Yes.
All right, so. Sun is still not up when you make it to what appears to be the shore of this structure. As you get closer, and especially as you approach the shore, now there is a structure here, which I'll describe in a second, but what gets your attention primarily is this huge, for lack of a better description, lake of mirrored glass that sits in front of you. The sands kind of wash up to it. You can tell that the winds have been blowing, and so there's a scattering of sand around the edges to kind of smooth the transition. But it's also quite apparent as you get close that of the nature of what this is. Let's see who's the one that figures this out, because it does require some deduction. Success. Oh, wow. Haig is the one who notices and determines, or I should say exclaims, holy crap, something melted the sand.
It's not cheese, it's glass.
Mm-hmm. So, for the extent of what you can see, not quite to the end of the horizon, but across a pretty large area, we're talking about 15 by 25 miles.
Oof, big.
This entire area has been melted into pure glass. Now, as I said,
Awesome.
there are two structures that you notice. First of all, in the distance, barely seen through the shimmering area above the sea of glass, lies an island of some kind, a black dot floating among the clouds or stars. And that is that central area that you see in the distance to your southwest. More realistically, though, or more approximately, I should say, is that right there on the shoreline, maybe a few hundred feet down shore from you, a strange metallic platform juts skyward, half buried in the sands of the shoreline. A few feet away, a tall metal pole also pokes out of the sand. There is a crosspiece wrapped with bundles of woven bronze on the pole. The slanting platform is a pair of large, gleaming blades mounted under it. There is a long, thin blade hanging in the air on the side of the platform. Trying to see if I can find a picture to kind of describe it without saying exactly what it is, but I think if you look at it, you'll kind of understand what it is. Oh, that's not really the best thing they have of it, is it? All right, so they don't really have a good image of this. I'm going to describe it as such, and hopefully it won't be too obvious, but just enough. The platform basically looks like a Viking ship mounted on ice skates.
Sand sailor, windsurfing,
Glass sailing.
glass sailor. Yeah.
Appears to be some kind of vessel used to sail across the glass. And this also actually brings to mind something else that Haig actually is also the one to connect the dots on. Probably because it's most relevant to him. As he's sitting there thinking about the heat necessary to create this glass, and his intense dislike of heat in general as a Goliath, he's like, guys, there's no way in Infernus we want to cross over this thing in the daytime or be
No.
anywhere near.
No. I agree.
But there is
Hot, hot,
definitely
hot.
So you
something
said
out
this
there,
is like a boat that we can use to cross.
kind of like a boat, but instead of, floating on the glass, it's got skates, like an ice skate that apparently glide over the glass.
Can I set the dome up on top of it?
Let's see, how big is this?
Because then we wouldn't be hot.
Can the dome move with it? Or is it fixed in location?
I don't know. Well, but if whatever it's fixed on is moving, wouldn't the dome just move with it?
That's what I'm wondering, if it is capable or if it's fixed in place.
I mean, technically, you
I
set it up on the
think-
ground, and the ground is moving through space. So
Yeah, I think the dome is more of like setting up a tent or bolting a chair to the floor than it is activating an immovable rod.
Think of the Carlinism. If you're standing at the front of the plane and you jump up, does the back of the plane come up and smack you in the face?
Say that again.
If you're standing at the front of the plane and you jump up in the air, does the back end of the plane come up and smack you in the face?
No.
Why do I remember these obscure things?
Okay, it is grounded and somewhat buried, but parts of it are sticking out that you can still see how this, or what it's supposed to be, particularly the skates that it sits upon. Oh, interesting. There's also something about these that kind of, I don't know, it eventually catches everyone's attention and it kind of makes your jaw drop when you do. The structures that make up this vessel are not trivial. As you're investigating what appears to be, or what looks like, a sail, and it certainly looks like a sail for all intents and purposes, with one very, very big difference. The collapsed sail is not made of fabric, but what appears to be woven bronze.
Oh,
The second thing that you begin to notice as you're investigating and not necessarily digging out the skates that the ship is mounted to, not that the blades itself are made of it, but they are coated in what appears to be diamond fragments.
So that's how an ice skate works, and that's what you would need to skate through glass, is something that can cut the glass.
Very, very good.
Because that's how ice skates work, is they literally cut through the ice. And
Not
that's what
dig
you would
deeper,
need
but-
to skate. And that's what you would need to skate through the ice, is something that can cut the glass just enough to give you that grip.
So it does come to your minds that you might be able to use this, and probably will be able to use this to cross over this sea of glass. But it's going to take you a little bit of time, probably about a half an hour to an hour, to free it from all of the sand that's caked around the hull and the blades.
cool.
And of course, with the sun coming up at this point, the heat you're rapidly feeling the heat coming up off of the glass surface and just making things scorchingly intolerable, especially for the Goliaths. They're just like, yeah, we're going to stay inside the hut.
And as Haig has pointed out, we really don't want to be crossing this in the middle of the daytime. Kaeli is of the opinion that we should. Oh, and the camels can't fit in the hut because they're just too big for the magic.
No, we've had them in the hut before. It's gotten a little cramped, but you've had them in the hut before. Thing is that you can't leave them in the hut because once Redreth leaves, then the hut's
Right. Right. Okay. Kelly is of the opinion that we should back off a bit and spend the day in the hut and then try this tonight.
One other thing of note that you do perceive is that as you're thinking about what other ways to secure the camels, if you should decide to leave them behind, and they could fit onto the boat, by the way, just to point out, they would be able
Right.
to the boat. But if you decide to leave them there on the shore, there's not much really to tether them to, except for the platform that these ships are kind of moored against. And more than likely, they are way too close to the glass to be comfortable in the daytime. Much less.
Right.
So you might have very limited options to keep the camels tethered if you decide to leave them behind.
No, I was just thinking, you know, if we're sailing across in the daytime and all of us are just hiding in the hut, then where are the camels going to sit on the boat where they're not going to get fried alive? Another reason to do it tonight as opposed to right now. So that's Kaylee's thought, is that we back off a ways and camp for the day and do this.
Okay, my apologies.
And do this after we've rested.
I came across an additional description that I probably should have read to you. I don't think it changes anything in the past, but just make sure that I haven't missed any information you should have noticed. This would have been as you were getting closer to the glass sea. Ahead, the ground seems to drop away into a deep sky. To left and right, a shoreline of sand dunes is formed as the world abruptly ends, hanging in the desert sky ahead. Land's End extends to the limits of sight in both directions. Only upon close inspection is the true nature revealed. A huge sea, its surface glassy smooth, lies ahead, mirroring the dunes of the shore and the clouds above. No opposite shore may be seen through the shimmering haze, only the sky and the clouds below merging into those above in the distance. As you get closer to the shoreline, the air becomes very dry and so hot that it is painful to breathe. At a great distance to the north, there is a dark island seemingly afloat in the sky. And that north is presuming that you're approaching from the south, so that actually should be to the west.
It's also, the description also sounds like they're expecting you to approach during the day, not at dawn. But it would still apply, just not quite as intensely. Yeah, that's yeah, we definitely should. Haley is going to just outright recommend we should back off a ways and set up camp and cross tonight.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right. So how far away would you say you want to set camp from the glass from the glass? Just off the surface, few dozen feet away, a couple 100 feet away.
Well, considering it's only going to heat up, make it worse. But then again, the tent is, or the
Just
hut is climate controlled. So I don't know, 50 feet, 100 feet.
Half hour's walk. That's the sort of distance that KLLE is thinking is like half an hour to an hour's walk. I mean, if the rest of the group is going to refuse to go that far, she's okay with that. But that's the distance that KLLE was thinking of putting was, you know, half an hour to an hour's walk.
Probably seems about a reasonable distance. That gets us to about there. It gives you about just enough time to get camp set up before the sun actually rises.
Yeah, because anything else is going to be, you know, much too close.
Where is this one at? All right. So camp is set up. You make it successfully through the day without any encounters or anything else interesting happening. As you suspected, the amount of light and heat coming off of this structure is intense. And it varies throughout the day depending on the angle of the sun relative to where you guys are. So there's definitely a point as the sun crosses the sky and it's being reflected back towards you that you feel like you're under the light intensity feels like that you're under two suns, and you're very grateful you're in the protection of the sphere. And eventually you witness the same phenomenon that you saw the previous night, with the sun setting into itself in the distance, merging and then disappearing into the night. And as it does so, the island in the center becomes clearly visible or backlighted for at least a few minutes. So there's definitely something out there worth investigating that's more than just a small object. It does look like a reasonable sized island. And you would have to guess it's probably about 5 miles distant.
Okay.
If you'll excuse me for a moment, I need to find out what my curves are complaining about. Okay, sorry about that. Just dogs being dogs. All right, so we're moving ahead to after the sun has set, second day after you get there. What do you want to do with the opportunity of less heat?
Well, I don't know. we could, does anybody know anything about sorry, brain doesn't like me. We should probably decide whether we're gonna unbury and attempt to operate one of these boats, or if we're going to attempt to walk across, or I suspect the boats would probably be faster if we can operate one.
There's enough of us, we can operate the boats, take camels with us. So let's unbury
Yes,
the boat.
there's enough of us, but do we know enough? Do we know enough? Are we smart enough to figure it out if we don't?
That would be rolling to find out if we're proficient enough to be able to operate a boat, a sailboat.
Okay, I'm sorry, I missed that question. I was reading something.
We're checking to see if we would be collectively proficient enough to operate a boat, sailboat, vehicle at our disposal to get from here to there.
Well, there are
Between
definitely some things that are very, even for those of you that might be familiar with seafaring, there are some things about this that are definitely very different. It's similar to a sailboat, but it doesn't seem to work on the same principle. Because as I said, the sail is made out of woven bronze. It's not exactly a fine mesh. There's a lot of places for wind to get through this sail.
Well, given the option of walking or trying to take one of these contraptions, I would say let's try to figure out the contraption first.
Yeah, your intuition.
Yeah, Lily's good with that.
I don't think the Goliaths are going to be wanting to walk across glass either.
Nope. Nope. But Redress, you do find the vehicle to be very, very interesting without necessarily using a detect magic. It seems to be a contraption that blends magic and engineering. And with that being said, all of you, even though it, who knows how long it's been here and has, survived, been weathered somewhat by the heat and the desert sand, there all is a degree of craftsmanship here that still is very, very evident.
Sorry, my network decided to go wonky on me.
Cool.
I was just pointing out, you probably missed out that even though you don't have your detect magic in use, there's something about this vessel that you find very impressive, as it appears to you to be a very thoughtful integration of both magic and engineering. One thing that seems to be very unusual that stands out is that these sails made of woven bronze, it's not a fine mesh. There's a lot of room for wind to pass through these sails.
They're made of bronze. So are they supposed to, do we know what actually propels this thing and makes it move? Does it need the sun to go?
That's a very good question.
I mean, it should be okay, because if I can set up the dome on it and the sail sticks up above it, then we should be riding pretty comfortably while it's going.
I see no reason why you cannot try to do so. Can't promise you that the dome will move with the ship, but it does seem reasonable to you that it should.
That's what I'll attempt to do once we get ready to go.
Yep.
Or are we driving it during? We're driving it during the night, right?
Well, the sun has just recently set, so yeah, it's maybe about a half hour after.
We'll see if it moves during the night. If it doesn't move during the night, then once we'll get prepared, and then come morning, then we can try setting up the dome and seeing if it'll move with the sunlight.
Well, the first thing will be obviously though is that you're going to have to dig out all the sand that's surrounding these gates. Is that going to be a group effort, or are we just going to assign the non-present Goliaths to do so?
Wizards don't dig. I will do my Imperious waving off at the Goliath to
Go have fun.
chip chop.
Go have fun playing in the dirt. All right, so since they're not around to protest, we will have Hagen Varric digging out the sand, and it's going to take the two of them about a half hour to get all the sand cleared away. And as the restrictions of the sand are cleared away, it becomes quite apparent that this thing virtually floats on the glass. It moves very easily. For as heavy as it must be, once the sand is cleared, Varric or Haig can lean on the thing and it'll start moving across the glass and keep up a reasonable degree of momentum. And that's even with the sails not raised. And for the most part, the rigging and the steering all look the same. The mechanisms that they're connected to look a little strange and unusual, but yeah, any of you who have done, actually, do any of you have any kind, you know what, 5th edition doesn't really have a concept of seafaring or captaining or sailing skills. So, yeah, we're just going to presume that you guys have some rudimentary knowledge of sailing on a boat, just because it's the primary mode of transportation back in that day. And so, like I said, the ropes, the riggings, the sails and knots all look apparently the same, but there's definitely something very different about this, both the skates and especially the bronze sails. So we all getting on board?
Yep.
Everyone else is on mute still.
Definitely.
All right, so we're going to have you guys do a little bit of your own die rolling now. The question is, all right, we only have the 3 of you in, so I'll roll for Alex and the 2 Goliaths. But basically, let's see which one is going to be most applicable. I guess I'll have each one of you roll insight checks. That's probably the closest one.
Okay,
Power?
insight.
Power
Be
or
fine.
open?
Doesn't matter. In Kaylee's case, she has a very clear advantage. So Fekish, some of this makes sense to you, a lot doesn't. Redreth.
Redreth doesn't get it.
Yeah, Redreth pretty quick confused. Miz? You still there, Miz? He's off doing nom-noms. Miz, you're still on mute? All right, well, meanwhile, Kaylee, you seem to figure out how to get the sails up and running. It's not too alien. And, after an initial start away from the shore, probably heading too far north and not as much west, and you turn around a bit, and now you're heading back south a little more than you want to go. So you're still trying to get the angle right as it swings back and forth, and you get used to the fact that there's basically no friction um, to limit the forces of momentum. You finally get it going in the direction that you want it to. Meanwhile, on the deck, presumably, Kaylee, since you figured this out, you are the one that's steering and shouting commands to everyone to run around and pull this rope, pull that one down, tighten the masts, shift this around, etc., etc., etc. And so it's a little bit chaotic, probably quite a bit amusing for those looking on. But in the shuffle and buffle, what becomes apparent to particularly Redreth, and I would guess the Goliaths as well, based on these rolls, is that Redreth, something becomes remarkably clear to you. As you start, as Kaylee figures out how to sail with the wind, with the momentum and not against it, and finally getting her angles right and whatnot, in conjunction with your initial observance when the sails were pulled up. When the sails first came up, you felt a drop in temperature. And when she was fighting against the wind, it got a little warmer, but not the wind. When she was fighting against the momentum, it would get a little warmer. But when she was picking up speed and sailing in the right direction with the sails, it got noticeably cooler. Not air conditioned, but you eventually connected the dots and realized that this sail is actually operating off of heat, not light or wind. It's pulling the heat off that's being reflected off of the glass and converting it to motion energy. So you suspect this thing would cruise in the daytime, but you're not quite sure about how comfortable you would be if you were to do so. But you have reason to believe
I could also fireball it.
That would be interesting. Hopefully, if presuming you don't destroy the sail, it doesn't look to be that durable. Think of a solar sail. Or those things made out of like 0.5 millimeter thick gold foil.
May not work like nitrous.
No, probably not. Probably not. So
I'm just saying it's been a long time since Redreth has gotten to throw a fireball.
I'm
That's
sure
all I'm
you'll
saying.
have plenty of reasons to use them in the near future. But at this point, the cloud skate, as it is known, is now sailing southwest towards the black dot.
Cool.
And let's see. That's encouraging. Let's see that one. So it takes you roughly about 4 hours before you get into a distance of this island object, whatever it is that you're trying to get closer to. Let's see. Good Lord. All right, this is really bizarre. The way they wrote this. I'm gonna have to figure out how to appropriately give this to you, but apparently there's a historical event that you're supposed to discover. And it says basically what happens next is best told in the words of that more than half crazed survivor. Fortunately, that half crazed survivor died 1,000 years ago, so I don't know how he's supposed to relay this to you.
Just to let you know, Keith, we can barely hear you if you are talking to us.
Really?
Yeah, you're very quiet. But on my end, maybe not everyone else.
What about the rest of you?
I can hear you all right. You are a little bit low, but not that bad.
All right, I practically got this.
Yeah, a little bit soft. Now you're better, but you were a little bit soft.
I gotta find a better mic, I swear. This thing used to work a lot better. All right. What I was saying is that I came across this text about some information that probably should be shared with you, but it's the way it describes it before it goes into the boxed text that normally I read to you. Says what happened next is best told in the words of that more than half crazed survivor. Unfortunately, that half crazed survivor died of other causes almost 1,000 years ago. So I'm not quite sure how he's supposed to relay this to you. And I'm wondering. All right. Yeah, I don't want to give it to you now, but I will find a way to work this in so you can know about it at the right before it's too late to know about it. But yeah, there's like literally a page of text here that I need to make available to you at some point. My apologies. As Albie knows, we are hitting the section of the module that I have never managed to DM before, so I'm going to probably encounter a whole bunch of errors, inconsistencies, and whatnot. Even him and I never made it to this point previously. All right. But meanwhile, you make the sail across the sky sea. Let's see. That's the creation. That's a duplicate of what I already read you about the sky dropping around. That sort of. Okay, here's something else I got missed. So the surface of the sea of glass is almost perfectly flat, worn down by the winds and sand. Though the top surface is scratched and scarred, the sea is brilliantly reflective, mirroring the sky above, and the air above its surface shimmers in the heat it emits. Even at night, it still emits a certain amount of heat. Not as much as during the daytime, but it still is kind of collecting it. Jump around again. Hold on. Let's bring this up. Hold on a moment. coming in from the west. So that means you should be able to see. Forgive the crappy hex lines. Basically, you see the shore of an island sticking out from the glass. And as I said, it's a pretty good size island. Each one of these hexes is 1 mile. Oh, no, I'm sorry. The island itself is 1 mile across. So each one of these hexes is 528 feet.
All right then.
Let's see. And you guys are going to come to shore right about there.
Cool.
I would say at this point, given that we have only 10 minutes left and that we're down half of the party, we call it a little bit early and hopefully have everyone together except for, well, Jim, you're not going to be here in 2 weeks, damn it. It's not that we're going to get much.
That's okay. I have a fireball always ready to go.
Yeah, we know. And we've had you cast it before too in your absence. So, all right, I'll make sure that I get the recordings and stuff posted so you'll be able to catch up before the session that you'll hopefully be able to join us for in 4 weeks. Hopefully we'll be able to get everyone else together in 2 weeks and begin exploring the Cursed Island.
Awesome.
Cool.
And I will point out one thing to pique your interest between now and then. So I drew the arrow as to where you landed. But as you land, you do notice this inlet up here. And actually, I will expand it just a little bit more so you can get a better view. But it does appear there seems to be a water channel that allows you to get in to the inside of the island.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
but overall, yes, you have okay, ahead the tortured profiles of hills rise to the right and left. Though lower in total height than the dust wall through which the party has passed before, they seem to form travesties of those rugged peaks. They are twisted and battered. Chunks of stone, hundreds of feet broad, lie scattered as if cast by a giant hand. Some of the rock has the appearance of being crushed by that same hand, squeezing the essence forth as fountains and oozings, frozen now for all time. Shards of rock as sharp and pointed as a dagger's blade leap skyward to dizzying heights. The hues of the rock, stripped as they are of any softening by soil or growth, range from the red of fresh gore through the brown of dried blood to the ashen hues of long dead flesh. A sticky, sweet smell is brought on the wind that howls through the crags. So it does not look like a very hospitable place to be carousing through.
Neat.
So based on what the terrain looks like, yeah, you guys are probably going to want to consider seeing how far inland you can get on the rest of the glass terrain.
So I would think we would probably change tack and go in that inlet before making
Probably.
landfall.
I am
Be the smart thing to do.
inclined to agree.
All right then. Cool, cool. Well, barring any other stupidity, I plan on being here in 2 weeks. So I will catch you guys all then.
Same.
Sounds good. See you later, guys.
Cool,
All
cool.
right. Have a
Okey
good one,
dokey.
all.
Take care of yourself. Everyone have a
Alright.
good 2 weeks.
Sorry today's went so slow, but we should have a lot more interesting stuff going on next week. Not as much traveling or next session.
No, that's okay, Keith. I mean, it don't bother me because I'm just playing a weasel, so I have no hard work to do. So it's all the rest of them.
Well, being that we were down the Goliaths today, and it took Alex a little while to get up to speed or get connected, I should say. Yeah, it was a bumpy start today, and it never helps that we're 4 weeks since the last session. So hopefully everything will be more fresh. Alex, I'll try to make sure that I have the recordings posted before next time, so you have a chance to review it. Make
Okay.
sure we're up to date.
Awesome.
But yeah, I think I don't think there's any recent events that directly correlate to what's going on now, as opposed to, oh yeah, we were in the middle of battle, who hit who last time. This is kind of like the beginning of the last few chapters. So it may help,
Yeah.
it may not, but definitely at least you're in a spot where you kind of know where you're heading.
Yep. All right. I gotta go. I think I'm gonna go back to bed.
My
Well,
apologies for waking
enjoy
you
your
then.
sleep.
Yeah. All right. Talk to you
I
guys
will-
in 2 weeks.
Yep.
Take care.
Catch you all soon. Take care.
Bye.